Well, when I first got this script, I got it through Tom Harper, who I'd worked on War and Peace with, and I just love him so much. So he could have told me to kind of lie down on a railway, and I probably would have. So he was my first draw, and then I read the script, and I was just like blown away by the humanity of it, and also for me, it felt like I was reading a Prison Break film for all these women that were trying to escape the kind of limitations that society had told them that they were allowed to dream in. And for Susanna, Sophie, Okonedo's character, you know, she's been given a life as a domestic wife, and through Rose-Lynn, she breaks out of what her purpose is, and Rose-Lynn does that in, you know, she encourages all the women to be courageous and have wants of their own, because she's so tenacious and wanting something for herself and wanting something beyond what everybody has told her she's allowed. So yeah, the fact that it was a kind of, well, Tom, and that it was a kind of outlaw prison break film, I thought that was, yeah, and it just had this energy that I had never really seen a female character like that be as rough and bold and rusty and unsheened, and yeah, her bravery was just, well, her tenacity and courage was just blew me away.
I never thought about that.
I trained very hard in how to be as naughty as I possibly could for a few months before I started shooting. I trained how to sing country. I trained to be Glaswegian, and yeah, basically, yeah, just the naughty school was the thing I attended most. Was it different from anything I'd done before? Well, she, like, Rose-Lynn is like this kind of electric current, you know, so it comes from quite a, like, instinctive, guttural, raw, emotional place, and maybe Beast was a different kind of thing, because it was like something which was repressed that then like burst out. But for Rose-Lynn, it's just she's burning off a very emboldened, kind of rough place from within her. So she kind of warranted you to be bold and destructive. Well, Emmylou was my first entry. Emmylou Harris was my first entry into discovering country music. So she's definitely been a huge influencer in learning what it is to be an honest singer and a storyteller in country music. And one of my favorite ever songs, and I think it's just the most incredible story, is Boulders to Birmingham, which Emmylou, it's about Graham Parson, who she had like a long-standing relationship with, and when he died, he got all his friends when he was dying, he got all his friends into the hospital and said, when I die, I want you to take my body and set it alight in the canyon. So they stole his body from the morgue, drove it down through to the Grand Canyon and set it alight, and the whole song is about Emmylou standing on top of the Grand Canyon watching his body go up in flames, and it's haunting. Like, the song is so haunting, and we actually got to record it in Nashville with these amazing musicians, and they, I don't know what they did, but they managed to create like the sound of the canyon and there's just this eerie space in it, and listening to Emmylou sing it, you just feel like she's singing it for the first time in order to help herself out of the grief, and it's just magic. So her. And then, Bonnie Raitt as well is my gal that I found this year, and yeah, I think, you know, watching her sing Angel from Montgomery, I actually went to see her after we finished shooting in Nashville as like a kind of music pilgrim, and ended up in New Mexico watching her in this open air theater, and I was like on my own, and I'd gone on this like music pilgrim, and we just finished the album and we just finished the shoot, and I sat and I literally just bawled my eyes out for like an hour. And oh, she was just this powerful woman, you know. It was so inspiring, such inspiring women, like feminists and beautiful in all their individual vulnerable ways.
Yeah, see,
Well, I grew up in quite a musical household, so I grew up around, my mom's a harpist and a singer, and my dad is like always playing something or singing or writing poetry, so we grew up in quite a musical house, and we listened to everything from Irish traditional music to blues to jazz to musicals to classical. Yeah, but I think, I don't know, our ears are always open to lots of kind of music. That's the view from here, is like a kind of rebellion against the industry about, you know, and it's a fun kind of, it's got like a dirty blues backdrop to it, and the story is after Rose-Lynn gets her record contract, and finally success is kind of beginning for her, and she gets to the top, and all of a sudden she's in rooms with people who are trying to make her put on pink lipstick and have champagne, and all she wants is to have a beer. And the best line in that is that Nicole came up with, "Famous folk are weird," which is very, very true and very three chords in the truth. That's one of my favourite to sing anyway. And then Cigarette Row is one of my favourites because it's about a cigarette factory in Glasgow, and about all the women that used to work in the cigarette factory, and about how they would go out on a Friday night and go and dance in all these places. Now the tobacco factories in Glasgow have been turned into apartments, and for me that has like a personal love, because my gran was a massive smoker all through her life, and she used to smoke like 40-50 a day. And she died last year, and when she was buried with 2 packs of fags, a lighter, a cigarette, a deck of cards, and the ace of spades up her sleeve. So anytime I've like sung that song now, I'm always like, this is for Nana. Keep the flame alive, one cigarette song at a time. So yeah, and the band love playing that one as well. Well, I hope it resonates with as many people as possible. It's well, I think the kind of thing about this story is that it's about an ordinary person doing something extraordinary against the odds and against what she's told she's allowed to dream. And I think that is something that lots of people relate to. Young girls, older girls, men and women, and you know, it's scary to want something for yourself in your life, and I think it will really reach, well, I hope it will reach a lot of people in realizing that yeah, if you want something enough and you believe that you have a purpose to do something, that is possible, but to not, you don't have to sacrifice yourself for that, or, you know, who you are or where you come from, yeah, to tell that story. There's so many like incredible moments of filming. It's hard to just pick one that actually will stand the test of time in the old memory bank. Like Outlaw State of Mind was just a riot when we were shooting that in the Grand Ole Opry in Glasgow, and there was just this amazing energy, and like some of the women that we had been shooting up around Mary Hill where Rose-Lynn lives, they ended up coming down and they were like, drinking Iron Brew and vodka on the sly and bursting onto the scene, and the band were electric, and I think we must have shot it constantly for about 12 hours, which is quite a big thing. But everybody was just giving welly, and it just felt alive, and the music was live, we were recording it all live, so it just felt like things were just erupting. That was amazing to shoot. And then I think something that is just, I'll never have a experience like that again, is singing on the Ryman stage when we were in Nashville, and you're in this church for country music, and you're standing in the spot where Johnny Cash and Emmylou and Dolly and all those people have left legacy and left myth and legend, and it was totally a cappella, and there was nobody in there, so you just felt like you were just in amongst all these ghosts of musical memories that were in or around the place, and we'd waited so long to actually get to Nashville, and it just felt like it was the kind of climax of the whole shoot, because that was the point where she realizes what she really wants and what she really wants to experience in her life, which actually isn't necessarily there, but yeah. Nicole Taylor is just a complete, unique force to be reckoned with, and she's so truthful, and she did when I first met her, she just had a series come out called Three Girls, which was so raw, and I think what's so unique about Nicole is that she's not afraid to expose the foibles and struggles and complexities of what it is to be a woman and a person, and she's so collaborative. From day one we were just in together, and she was swapping all her kind of background stories that she'd done, and then we'd have script meetings, and as I was kind of drowning more into the character, we'd it was just this thing that was constantly evolving, and we now call each other school because it feels like she's like an old school friend that I feel like I've known for all my life, and we meet up and have coffee and talk about I don't know, it feels like we've shared a life together in the last 2 years, and I think she's just extraordinary. I feel so lucky to have worked with somebody like her. Yeah, we need more. Well, we only need one Nicole, but we need more people like her who are bold enough to tell stories about women like that.
Yeah, so you were really able to really develop the character into something that reflected you, but also was able to not dictate, but it just translated really well.
Yeah. Well, it's her story as well. It's Nicole's story about her journey as far away from where she grew up. She's a Glasgow girl, and was from when she was tiny, loved country music. She has got such an encyclopedia of country music, and that's when filming's the best, is when you get when it evolves and becomes its own story within itself. It's not just my story, it's her story, it's Tom's story, it's her lighting department story, it's the costume designer's story, and I think you try and make a character as universally relatable to as many people as possible while keeping it personal. That's a bit of magic and luck, because it happens on set and between you. So we never really planned to write. It was never something. We never really planned to write for the film. And after we'd shot it, I was kind of messing around one day, and one of the guys who works at Universal Music was like, "Oh, do you want to write and see what happens?" And then from that we said, "Well, why don't we make the album? Just kind of in a relaxed way, write some songs which could be a limb of the narrative of Rose-Lynn and her character after the film is finished." So I would go around to Nicole Taylor's house, who wrote the script, once a week, and it basically was an excuse to drink coffee and have croissants and sit and have a lovely time with my friends. And then through that, we were there with another guitarist, we just started writing songs from Rose-Lynn's perspective about what she wants to say now that she's found her own voice. So It's All Right to Be All Wrong is a song that we wrote, which is, I think it brings us into Nashville from when she leaves Glasgow, and we wrote that as a kind of lullaby to her kids and a lesson of actually, you know, you're going to mess up in life, and you're going to have to climb through different things that are going to be challenging, but that's where you learn the most about yourself, and to not be afraid of falling and grazing your knee. And then so that's kind of how it came about.
What's your favorite song?
Working with Julie Walters, I still can't even believe that has happened, because she's so generous, and she's so down to earth, and like, she lives on a farm outside of London, and her husband's a farmer, and she comes to set, and she just, she's Dame Julie Walters, and you're like going, oh, hi mom, like, and she just gives everything, and is just there and present and wants to feel something and free without ever being a conversation. She's incredibly human in an unnerving way. And working with Sophie Okonedo, she's just, again, she just wants to play, and she's, they were such a lovely bunch to work with, because the set just felt like family. And that came from Tom, Harper as well. He just gets people that he loves working with together, and then everybody loves him, so everybody wants to do really well. So yeah. Wild Rose is a riot. It's let me think about this. Wild Rose is a personal rebellion for the dreamers.